So, welcome. Not so many people here. I can only see stating the obvious, but perhaps somebody else is here. I was quite late announcing this. Wait, changing my... So, I was a bit down to the ground. It have been a long time since I published a video or did a live, as I have made some posts in the community tab that I've been working a lot, and I have. So all summer I have tried to do videos, and I have never been able to finish them before I traveled away again. Timo, happy to see you. I spent the few days I've been home, I spent trying to find good material to make videos about flat earth videos, but they are really on repeat. So it's hard. So the main topic of today is about claims from flat earthers that we're not allowed to go to the polar regions. I will not cover Antarctica. I will look at Arctic and the Arctic region, and I will look at it from a reality perspective. They claim, some of them claims, Eric the Bay for instance claims that you're not allowed to go to North Pole, and it's military there too, as on Antarctica. But I will talk about why Antarctic region is being more and more important, and why many countries spend more and more money on military things in the Arctic region. This is in my line of work, so I have prepared some material about that. But I tried to find something fluffy, but it's only stupid. I looked at this gentleman that I will show now. Wait.
Right, I'm just going to roll the camera and waffle because I can't think of how to start this. So this is a video log just to introduce where I'm at and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
This is Nathan Oakley in the beginning of his career. I have used this before, but I think it's quite interesting to listen some sentences of Nathan when he have just found flat earth.
I've spent 4 years floating around aimlessly, doing nothing really, and it's sad because I feel like I'm more capable than that. And being a lazy person, I want to find an easy way of doing everything, and yeah, there's generally an easy way to most things. But in my laziness, I've stumbled upon plenty of different things to fulfill my time, mostly conspiracy theories, which are fascinating, but some of them plausible, some of them implausible, and you never really find any that are interesting enough to keep your attention for a long time. Then you come across something like flat earth, and as soon as you do come across it, you realise that all the questions that are being asked, you've asked yourself, or asked in a fleeting way. So you've said to yourself, why isn't the moon fully lit when it can see all of the sun?
So this was the beginning. So Nathan was looking for conspiracies. He wanted to find a conspiracy that was interesting for him. Sorry, heads, welcome. And then I found this, one of his latest. This is a short one. I will not show the whole one. Wait, I will jump a bit in this one, I think. We don't need his intro.
been FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zender, Measured Flat, Chris Wout, Jason Horn, Max 777, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. There's no actual panel to hand over to yet. I've started and got straight into the thick of it because I've seen a video that I want to respond. Let's get some sound. This is the video we're going to be covering. It is by Mind Reloaded, but I don't think this is actually his video. I think it's Ben's. And it's not Ben I want to criticise, so for that reason I haven't necessarily used the video on Taboo Conspiracy, because this might be an old video, might be a new video. It's not really relevant. It's the sentiment behind the video that I'm going to be critiquing. Not critiquing, but, you know, utilising in a way that you'll see shortly.
This test was conducted with respect to Pikes Peak in Colorado, which is perfect with that 6,000-foot base elevation.
Okay, so straight away, when you say 6,000-foot base elevation, that's the end of the discussion, okay? So we are 18 seconds into this video with the FBI warning, the typing sound effect, and the first line, zoom in, all the graphics. First statement, we're talking about a mountain that is measured off a flat Earth. Okay? There is no other way to measure this mountain. If this mountain measurement is used, Earth is flat.
Oh dear. I was thinking about making a video about this video, but this is only too stupid. Oh.
Because we've measured it flat for the height of a flat Earth in feet. That's what we used. That's the way to put it. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's the end of the discussion. It's over. Okay? This is the end. There never was a discussion. So from this point forth, there's no reason to move forward. Right? Okay. So what we're talking about, Earth and how it gets measured flat to describe the height of the mountain.
The test was conducted at Dr. Heffron's house, which was 50.7 kilometers or 31.5 miles east of Pikes Peak.
Okay, so we just stop it there. Now we're at 29 seconds. What we got now? Got a directionality east. It's a directionality that only exists if Earth is flat.
Oh dear, there was the next stupid. So you can't have east on a globe. So this was one of the videos I was thinking about making a debunk of, but I couldn't do it. So let's move on to the main topic instead of listening in to Nathan and those fools. I will play the start of the video that I planned to release several weeks ago, but I didn't finish it. So instead of finish the whole video, I will play about 4 minutes and then I will do the rest of the video or my presentation live instead. So you will listen to a pre-recorded Arctic for about 4 minutes. Must find the video. There I have the video. No worry. Let's start. Both Antarctica and Arctic are restricted for civilians according to flat earthers and heavily guarded by militaries. Is it so? Let's look into that one today. In this video I will focus on the Arctic region. A big difference between the Arctic region and the Antarctic region is that in the Arctic there lives people. The Arctic countries are Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Canada, Russia, USA and Denmark. The part of Denmark that is in the Arctic is Greenland. So is big parts of Arctic forbidden for us to visit? And is the North Pole guarded by armed soldiers? No. You can visit the North Pole. You can go by icebreaker, you can fly there, and you can run a marathon there. But things are changing in the Arctic region. More are spent on military and so on. And why is that? One major factor is the fact that it's less and less ice in this region. It means easier access to big natural resources as oil, gas, minerals and other resources like fish, for instance. And then we have trade routes. This is the closest route from China to Europe. This route haven't been possible for cargo ships without help from very big icebreakers, but because of the melting of the sea ices in the north, this route is open longer and longer time each year. If you control the Arctic, you control some of the main trade routes in the future. Sorry, my camera died on me. So I'm back. So that was the beginning of the video I planned to do. Let's see. Question. Yes, I still sending drones and so on to Ukraine. Mainly founded by me, my friends and my colleagues. I stopped talking about it so much on YouTube and so on. And I have also this year trained more Ukrainian soldiers. I can't talk so much about it, but Sweden have trained a lot of soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers. So I've been involved. This is the second year I do that. So let's go on to the Arctic region. Why is it so important? This is one reason. Svalbard, which is a part of Norway, the rules around it is a bit different. It's demilitarized and everybody that can support themselves is allowed to live there. And it's a slight problem with this. This is the only city there, Longyearbyen, but it's not the only settlements. If you stop here, this is a place called Pyramiden. It was built by the Soviet Union. They also wanted a part of Svalbard. So because of international treaties, they were allowed to start free coal mines. Pyramiden, as you see here, is today a ghost town but Russia is planning to reopen it. And the third of the coal mines have been closed for a very long time. And then we have another place on Svalbard. I made a slow edit. I believe this one. Barentsburg. This is an operating coal mine. It's economically insane to take coal from Svalbard and transport it through Russia. This is only for the reason for having this and restarting Pyramiden is to have a foot on Svalbard. So it's several reasons why Svalbard is important. I will come back to one of them, but here you have the other reason. This is one of the world's biggest ground station for satellites, or it's the biggest in the world. So how surveillance satellite works, when they pass a station, they dump data. So if you have wait, my camera has frozen. So now you don't have to see my frozen face. So when satellites passes the or going a polar pattern, they dump data up here. So it can be civilian weather satellites, it can be spy satellite, military satellites. So the closer you are to the North Pole, the easier it is to transfer big amounts of data. So this is one of the reasons why Russia won't have control up here and why NATO countries want to have it too. But I will come back to other reasons. I will talk a bit about me and my experience about military before I go to nowadays. This is videos from the Swedish Defense Force. It's covering Sweden during the Cold War. I will come back to Sweden during the Cold War and compare it with the situation today. Sweden was neutral during the Cold War. We didn't belong to NATO. We didn't belong to the Warsaw Pact. We were in between. Norway on our west side was NATO country, Denmark NATO. Finland wasn't on the East Bloc, but Soviet Union had some control over Finland. And then east of us, the rest was the East Bloc. Soviet Union, Poland, East Germany, and so on. And we were in between. So we did build a very big defense force in Sweden. We had, when I did my, what do you call it? When I was conscript, all men in Sweden had to do military service. You didn't have to do it if you had medical problems, psychic problems or so, but otherwise you had to do it. When I did my basic military service in the 80s, it was 52,000 people making the military service, and then perhaps Sweden had 7.5 to 8 million people. We had troops, we could gather about 900,000 soldiers. So, and the film I have prepared is how we saw attack. Sweden did build most of our weapons ourselves. So the doctrine I'm trained in during the Cold War was this. First, if we were being attacked, the first that was going up was the Air Force meeting the enemy far away out at sea. And here we have Swedish planes made in Sweden. In Sweden, if we were attacked, all planes was moved from the airfields. All Swedish planes are made for being able to start on ordinary highways. So all around Sweden we had secret airfields on ordinary roads. So that was the first one. The company making this are Saab. Before it was the same company making the Saab cars and so on. Today Saab only work with the weapon side, making boats, planes, anti-ship missiles, radar systems, and so on. And then after the Air Force, one important point about Air Force in Sweden. In the 60s, Sweden had the third biggest Air Force in the world, if you count planes, not compared with size of country. Only US and Soviet Union had more planes than Sweden. If the Air Force didn't succeed, we had the Navy. And the same here. We built our own ships, submarines, destroyers, and so on. And it's the same today. We're building our own ships. I will jump. And then we had, if the Navy didn't succeed, we have this, the coastal artillery. I have shown videos and pictures from a closed coastal artillery, a museum nowadays where I'm sitting in the board. So I'm spending some time on it. Today we have no coastal artillery in Sweden. And if they didn't succeed, the coastal artillery, we had the army. And this is my background. I did 15 months as infantry officer, and then I did go officers high school and become a reserve officer. So it's a difference between officers. If you work on the regiment, teaching soldiers and so on, that's not the education I have. I'm trained for war. And I was so when I was finished with that education, I was a lieutenant. But because I live by the sea and the wall was falling down, I moved on my war placement where I was placed in case of war. I did lose that position, so I moved on to the west side and took exams with navigation, handling ships, and so on. So that's my military background. Okay, so what was the scenario? So let's see. Here we have Sweden. I will not point out exactly, but I live in this region. When I was placed in as an infantry officer, I was placed up here, close to the Finnish border, and we were supposed to stop the Soviet Union if they attacked us through Finland. So that was my basic training. So, why did we in Sweden think that we would be attacked? And this is the same today. If you look at Russia or the East Bloc, I will focus on Russia, not the whole East Bloc. Here you have Russia, and in war, the Navy is very important. You can transport troops, heavy equipment, and so on. So if you look at Russia today, where do they have their bases, the fleet bases? You have one here, St. Petersburg. You have one here, Kaliningrad. And they have one down here in the Black Sea. And they have one back somewhere here on the east side. And they have the main one up here. So, how did this affect Sweden and how do it affect us today? If you go back to our sea here, here we have Kaliningrad, here we have St. Petersburg. Today, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, Poland, the Baltic states, all are NATO countries. So for Russia to come out this way, they can't. They can't get in a big conflict. They can't get out on the open sea. It's the same with the Black Sea. They have to go through Turkey. So the only two options they have is this on the Pacific side and this one. To take a fleet from here to Europe, if it's a conflict in Europe, takes too much time. So they have to get out with this one. If you look at this map again, so they have to go out this way. If you look at a scenario here, but both in First World War and Second World War, weapons and soldiers was transported over the Atlantic to support Europe. In a big conflict today, it's not likely that, for instance, Russia would attack US. Russia isn't strong enough to invade US. They have several problems. One of those is they have no working aircraft carriers. If you're going to attack far away from your homeland, you must have air bases or aircraft carriers. Russia have no friends around US that would let them use air bases, and they have no aircraft carriers. This line is in military called UEUK. This have been important both during the Cold War and today. Sorry. GIUK. It stands for Greenland, Iceland and UK. So why is this important? If you remember from history lessons in school about the Second World War, it was convoys going over here. And NATO strategy is, if one country is attacked, the rest come and help. And the biggest of NATO countries is US. Canada is also a NATO country. So this is something that Russia would want to stop in a conflict. Then they have to go out here or like this to meet Canada, US out at the Atlantic to prevent them to supplying Europe with soldiers and equipment. So it was the same in the Cold War, it's the same today. So if we go back to my region, it was the same then. Denmark was NATO, West Germany was NATO, Norway was NATO, UK, Iceland. So our defense was built on this. They thought that Russia would go fast, or Soviet Union go fast, to take Narvik up here, a big important harbor in Norway, Trondheim in this area, and so on. So they would go through Finland, through Sweden, to take control of the Norwegian coast and take their fleets to big harbors in Sweden and go through Sweden against Norway. So this was what our defense in Sweden was built around. And sadly, it's the same today. So this is an explanation to why Sweden and Norway did join NATO after the invasion of Ukraine. And we have another thing that have changed after the Cold War. And it's this. In the southern parts of Sweden we have this island, Gotland. It's about 180 kilometers to the Baltic states, and it's about 85-90 kilometers to the Swedish mainland. If we have a short look on a video from the Saab company.
In an unpredictable world, ensuring people's security is crucial to keeping societies moving forward. To guarantee the safety of its citizens, a nation needs to know it can protect its borders. Saab delivers the superior level of protection that nations demand. For decades, nations have relied on the RBS-15 anti-ship missile. It enables 24/7 protection in any weather and in any scenario. No matter what tomorrow brings, the RBS-15 is your nation's most fierce protector, always by your side and ready to strike. At Saab, keeping people and society safe is what we do.
Yes, Timo, did I say Norway? Of course I was wrong. It's I meant Sweden and Finland, of course. What I showed here is RBS-15. This video was recorded close to where I live. I was working with security. It was the Polish Navy. They use the Saab RBS-15 anti-ship missiles, or ship-to-ship missiles. Can be carried from a lorry, airplane or a boat. So why did I show this and Gotland? If you place this type of weapon systems here, the version we use today, according to open sources, information you can find on internet, they have a range on over 200 kilometers. This distance, 180. So, if you have control over Gotland, you have control of all of this part of the Baltic Sea. And the same goes for Bornholm down here, belongs to Denmark. So when Russia did the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Sweden got scared, because if Russia would hold this, they have the same type of weapon systems, and they would cut all connection with the sea for the Baltic states and Finland. Sweden, we have our west coast, so we wouldn't have such a big problem, but the Baltic states and Finland would be cut off from the rest of the world if it goes all that transported by boats. So after the invasion, Sweden moved a lot of heavy military equipment to this small island. So if you go back to the polar region, Russia is in a bit difficult position. In the video I prepared, I talked about the shortest route from Asia to Europe is this one. And because of the melting ice in the north, this is easier and easier to take this route. More months per year you can use it, and you don't need several months per year. You don't need big heavy atomic icebreakers as before. So why is this a problem? If you look at the revenge strategy with atomic weapons, so even if they flatten New York, Moscow, San Francisco and so on, US will have a capacity to strike back. You have the big atomic submarines with nuclear weapons, and you have the silos on land. And the American silos is placed in the center of US. They are not by the coast. Russia have thought that this area, the northern parts here, have been safe because of the ice. NATO haven't been able to go in with ships and so on in these areas and attack silos with atomic weapons placed up in Siberia and so on. But with the change of the ice coverage in the north, it will be possible to go in with navies up here. And the big atomic Russian submarines is placed up here. So this is the military explanation of why the Arctic is more and more important. It's the trade routes, it's natural resources, oil, gas and so on, as I mentioned in the video. And it's satellites, and it's Russia feels that they are threatened on their backyard. So, I hope that this wasn't boring. This was the video that I prepared. I have talked so much I haven't paid any notice about the chat. The chat is silent, so. I don't feel that I have so much audience today, but this was the video that I had planned. I hope someone felt it was interesting. I will prepare some more videos and I will be back very soon. So, thank you for watching this a bit short live. I can stay for a while. I don't have to go. I thought it was. I didn't see anyone. Anybody have any questions about this? This what I have presented here, it's no military secret is in it, but what I was telling you is what we are learning on the military university. I did go a course there this winter, and I had one of my teachers, a former Navy high-ranking officer that are specialist in the Arctic region, and because that I are involved also in the museum, the coastal artillery, I have access to very much information about the Cold War era. So I helped him recently with a presentation he will do later on when he will use the history from the Cold War to present the situation today. I believe Gotland have about 60,000 people living there. In summertime it's much more. It's quite popular by among rich people from Stockholm and so on, having summer houses there. Yes, but Siberia is isolated. You have the permafrost, you have not so much roads, and it's a very small portion of the Russian people living in the northern parts. So yes, the number is 60,000 people living there. I believe that the people from Stockholm is the same. The problem. Yes, I think Gripen is a perfect airplane for Ukraine. So that's the first. I have a friend that have a big YouTube channel who is a former Gripen pilot. I believe I will link his. I will link his channel in the comment section. I have discussed this a lot with him, and I'm not an expert in airplanes, but the information I got from him is they would benefit from Gripen is built to be able to start on normal roads, as I said earlier on here in the presentation. F-16 and those type of planes is more dependent of airfields and good technicians. The Swedish planes are now and have always been made to be served by young men doing their military service of 10 months or so. So they were capable of taking care of the plane, refueling, rearm it, and more simple service on it. That's not the case on F-16. So Gripen would be a perfect choice for a country like Ukraine. They could hide the planes better. They could use highways all over the country to refuel, rearm, and so on. And the latest Gripen E, the new one that we are starting using in Sweden now, is much better than F-16. But that explanation is the same with all our weapon systems in Sweden. All the time, most of our we haven't. It's after the Cold War we had soldiers that are employed. All during the Cold War, all ordinary soldiers, what they call them, not officers, the rest of them, was doing military service for 8, 10, 12, 15 months. After that, they had every 4th year, they have repetition exercises for perhaps 3 weeks. So our advanced weapon system are built for be operated by soldiers that have some months training only. Yes, I have. I can say so much about Ukrainian soldiers. I've been in UK, as I said, that's not a secret, and there I was part of training infantry soldiers. We used 5 weeks to train a functioning infantry soldier. Today in Sweden we have what we call it in other countries, the local defense, or you have volunteers that have a military position to support, to guard the local area where they live. So they are armed, they are soldiers, but they are voluntary soldiers. Often they have done military service and are no longer stationed anywhere. So they go to this, it's called the hemvärnet in Sweden. So this summer we have tried this model training soldiers that haven't done any military service but want to do this type of service. So we have a pilot close to where I live this summer where they have trained 150 people from all Sweden. The youngest was 19, the oldest was 48, I believe. So they was finished 1 week ago with this 5 weeks training. After that they have to do 3-week-long exercises with their group soldiers at home, and then they are ready trained. And I also have trained. So my experience from training those Ukrainians, they were so motivated to be trained. So and they learned so fast. After that, I have trained on our combat boats. I showed videos about those boats, the Swedish boats. They are 16 meters long, have water jet engines and very fast. It's mainly used for transporting a half platoon of soldiers. You can get 18 soldiers with all equipment in it. And move very fast. You can also equip it with weapons and so on. It's light armored, so it can withstand hold rifles and so on, and training them driving those boats was fascinating. They didn't want to go to sleep, they only wanted to train. "18 months, that was a long one. The longest military service during the Cold War we had was 15 months, as I did, and that was to be an officer. So when I was ready after 15 months, I had command over an infantry platoon. So it was 32 soldiers in my platoon, so I was in charge of that platoon. After that, when I did go to military high school and become a reserve officer, I had more soldiers under me. Thank you, Timo. Yes, it's hard, but in some way, this is related to flat Earth, because this, if we go back to the Arctic region, this with satellite stations close to the North Pole, you have the same at the South Pole. Different countries want to have satellite stations on Antarctica. If you have satellites there orbiting the poles, if you had big satellite receiving stations on Antarctica, you would receive the information faster. Instead of receiving it once every lap around the globe, you would receive it 2 times per lap. So double the speed. Okay, the Baltic Sea. We go back to that one. Up to Umeå, Luleå, Umeå. This area is frozen every winter. You can say this part, oh, too big. Here, most winters. And by the coast here, every winter. And bigger rivers and so on. But it can be frozen down to Stockholm and seldom south of that. So in Sweden, this part of the coast, ships need icebreaker assistance every winter. Yes, Western Germany was the flank, and now NATO's flank, eastern flank is here. So that have changed a lot for us in Sweden, because now we have soldier states based in the Baltics. Our first line of defense is the Baltic states and Finland. So if you look at, this is not a secret. For instance, 17 locations in Sweden, on Gotland, in my area, and several places. US have access to store things and train, and so the NATO strategy today is to have supplies in Norway, Sweden, and fast move it to Finland, to the Baltic states, and down here it's Germany, Poland, and so on. But so today, when I was trained, this was the first line of defense, and it have moved east to this. Any more questions? Oh. Yes. Indeed, it's a strange world we live in. Couldn't agree more. But you are speechless, yes. But many countries is spending a lot of money nowadays on the defense, and something in the military, something we talks a lot about, where the Ukraine war have changed the war. That's about drones. Both, sadly enough, Russia, but especially Ukraine, is developing new techniques around drones so damn fast. In Sweden, we have had a drone program from the beginning of the war, and when they presented this for the defense force, it was not modern at all. The involvement on drones is so very quick when it used. For instance, they have a lot of radio jamming in Ukraine, both Russia and Ukraine. So what did they do? They guides drones with fiber optics, thin cables, can't be disturbed. Funny enough, a part of the coastal artillery in Sweden during the Cold War was a robot called Robot 52, and it was planned to. It was supposed to use coast narrow to the coast where it had islands and so on, so short distances. The fuel on it only lasted for 3,200 meters, so it was close combat with those robots, and they were wire controlled. But in this case, they shoot longer distances with those fiber optics to control the drones. It's insane. Are you thinking about all the nuclear waste in Murmansk, or what do you mean? Because Murmansk is a quite scary place in many ways. I think especially with how they take care of all the atomic submarines and so on. Okay, I have to end the stream. I'm all alone in the house. My wife is on a music festival and my dog is sounding like he needs desperately to go out. But I'm very happy that you wanted to join me tonight. I will be back soon. I think I will do this kind of lives a bit more instead of trying to do videos when I not have time. It's easier to prepare this type of things. So next one sometime soon will be live. So have a nice evening all and see you soon.